This is Support is Sexy, Episode 3 with New York Times bestseller and money coach, Lynnette Khalfani Cox. Welcome to the Support is Sexy podcast. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, producer, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I talk to women entrepreneurs who share their journeys and the true stories of their wins and their lessons, and give you insight and inspiration to take your business and your life to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. Thank you so much for joining me. As you know, it just would not be the same without you. Today, I'm so excited to welcome our guest, Lynnette Khalfani Cox, a.k.a. the Money Coach. Lynnette is a personal finance expert, television and radio personality, and the author of numerous books, including the New York Times bestseller, Zero Debt, The Ultimate Guide to Financial Freedom. Lynnette once had $100,000 in her own credit card debt before paying it all off in 3 years and turning her financial life around. Since then, she has appeared on such shows as the Oprah Winfrey Show, the Steve Harvey Show, the Today Show, and Good Morning America. And she shares her success story and teaches millions about proper money management. So she knows just a little bit about that. And I had the great pleasure of working with Lynnette actually when I was editor of a financial website. And I have to tell you, she is just a joy and truly brilliant. So on this episode, you'll learn how a layoff may be just the push you need to start your business, the powerful lessons Lynnette learned about branding and entrepreneurship from her dad, who was an actor and a shoe shine man. Also, how to set boundaries if you are in business with your spouse or partner, and the very real compromises you should discuss. Lynnette and I went deeply into this, and she shared so much wisdom in this space, so you'll definitely want to listen out for that. She also mentions the ways to ensure that if your business fails, your marriage or your relationship will not. Also, why debt is reaching record-breaking highs and what she plans to do about it, and some of the biggest money mistakes that entrepreneurs make, which we definitely need to listen out for. So I just want to say also, thank you, Lynnette, for sharing such a personal side of yourself that we don't often get to see on CNBC or in the Wall Street Journal and all these fabulous places that you give your great advice. And it's great to have a place like this, which is what Support is Sexy is all about, where women entrepreneurs and leaders can just be candid about their journey, whatever that looks like. No judgment, all love. And Lynnette really shares such great inspiration and information in this episode. So I really thank you, Lynnette, for that. We all do. Thank you so much. And here's the thing. I know so many of us can relate to her journey. One more thing for the listeners, please be sure to listen all the way to the end, because we have a special code for you from Lynnette for some of her products that she's offering just to Support is Sexy listeners. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Miss Lynnette Khalfani Cox. So Lynnette, thank you so much for joining us today on Support is Sexy. I so appreciate you.
Of course, my love. When you reached out to me, I was like, girl, of course I want to come on here.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So let's have to ask you the question I ask everyone to start. When did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
Well, my love of entrepreneurship probably has been pretty gradual, I would say. And I can't say that there was a sort of defining moment other than me getting fired from my job, if that's what you mean.
Oh, tell us about that moment.
Let's jump right in.
Right, exactly.
I had a really great career in journalism. I worked for the Associated Press. I worked for the Philadelphia Inquirer. I was a Wall Street Journal reporter. I was a CNBC correspondent. Long story short, my last job in corporate America, I was a Wall Street Journal reporter for CNBC. Mm-hmm. And one day my boss came to me, and not just me, eventually me and 200 other people, mm-hmm. and pretty much said, sorry, we can't afford you guys anymore. Advertising is down. You got to go buy.
Right.
And that was in March 2003. That was March 1st, 2003 was actually my last day on air at CNBC. And that same month, March 2003, I started my company. So I was really taken aback. I was just kind of, depressed. I was sad. I was like, it ain't right. It ain't fair. I thought I had a contract, so I, lamented and cried a teeny bit over it. threw a little hissy fit privately.
Right, exactly.
But then I was just like, okay, dust yourself off. My sisters and I, we always had an expression, one monkey don't stop no show.
Right.
And it's kind of like keep forward, keep it moving. And so that really was the sort of impetus for me. But I can say that kind of made me fall in love with entrepreneurship. And the reason why I initially joked and said, other than getting fired, is that, the seeds for entrepreneurship really were planted decades ago when I was a child, because my dad was an entrepreneur. Really, I would consider him one of the ultimate entrepreneurs I've ever known in my life. I've never told him this, and now I'm saying it. I probably really should. My father was a shoe shine man from Harlem. His father was a shoe shine man, and so was his father. Needless to say, he did not have a good education. He grew up during tough times. He later went to the military, but even when he was in service, he got kicked out of the military pretty much because he could not stand to be under somebody else's thumb. Mm-hmm. He had a, honorable discharge. It wasn't like, bad or anything like that. But he really showed us that all honest work is good work. And, as long as you ain't knocking somebody upside the head, trying to steal their purse or something.
Right.
You could be shining shoes. You could be cleaning the toilets. You could be the CEO. Everybody is equal. No one person is better than somebody else just because they have a title or perhaps a little more money in the bank account. But growing up, I'll be honest, my family moved from New York to Los Angeles.
Right.
My dad wanted to become, of all things, an actor. And he did. He did commercials, and he was in a little movie you might have heard of called E.T.
Really? What did he do with E.T.? Now I have to go watch it and look for your dad. Where is your dad?
Yeah, girl, he's the only black man in the movie, so you came in.
Oh my goodness! Everybody go look for Lynnette's dad.
Exactly, Michael Darrell. He'll be happy to get a shout out. He was the police officer. Right when the little boy was about to take off on the bike and ride up in the sky. My dad was the one who said. Yeah, who was chasing him. Who was like, "Hey, stop, you kids! What are you doing?" That was,
I can't wait.
So when you go back and see, you'll be like, "Oh, that's Michael Darrell. That's Lynnette's father."
I love it.
So, but he did, some movies and some commercials and blah, blah, blah. And when I grew up in Los Angeles, I was raised in central part of Los Angeles, predominantly African-American and Latino neighborhood, but I was bused. That was the era of busing in California in the 1970s, when all the pretty much inner city students of color would go out to very wealthy white neighborhoods. So I was bused to Brentwood, California, Pacific Palisades, and Malibu. I went to Canyon Elementary in Brentwood. I went to Brentwood. I went to Paul Revere Junior High School in Brentwood. I went to Pacific Palisades High School. Long story short, I was around all these really wealthy kids and their families and parents. They were so nice and inviting, and it wasn't like today where my kids are like the only black kid in the class.
Right.
Pretty much. We live in the suburbs, but there were hundreds of us, African American students and Latino, et cetera, being bused to these neighborhoods, and because of the integration factor, and I loved it. Frankly, it really helped me in so many ways.
It exposed you to something else, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But what I saw there also gave me some financial anxiety and some worries about status and economics and place, because I saw clearly two different worlds. My family was struggling and was, broke, and most of the people in our neighborhood was as well. They were as well. But I saw how the other half lived, so to speak. And, my white friends were very nice and welcoming, and they would be like, "Oh, hey, you want to come to our house? We're having a pool party. I'm going to ask my mom. She'll be there. She's a doctor, but she's not working this weekend," and whatever.
Right.
"Oh, my dad's an attorney. What does your dad do?" And I was like, and I didn't want to say my dad is a shoe shine man. I was embarrassed, honestly. And so I would be like, "My dad's an actor," and they were like, "Oh, cool." They were like, "Cool, so nice," So I kind of got around that. But I say all of that long, drawn out story pretty much to just emphasize that, my dad was a true entrepreneur at heart. And he taught me so much about work ethic and values, and about treating people well and decency, and about branding. My father had his logo and his slogan. Everybody called him Uncle Mike, and his slogan was, Uncle Mike's, where a dying art lives. And dying was DYEING.
Dying because of the shoe dye.
My father, he could remember when they used to remember that song, slap it up, flip it, rub it down.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
My father with the shoes, he would flip it up in the air, make it, 5 feet in the air, catch the shoe, spin it around, and flip the brush.
He made it theatrical, like a show. It's an experience.
Totally.
He knew the importance of an experience.
I mean, and you should see, he had, literally like CEOs would be consulting him. I'm dead serious. He ultimately, obviously, as an entrepreneur, he didn't do all the work himself.
Right.
He ended up having, many stands throughout Southern California.
Really?
in high-end hotels. Oh, absolutely. Like airport, car wash, that kind of stuff. And business people, everybody got to know him, and they would always say, "Hey, Uncle Mike," But so he had his business cards. He did a lot of things right. So I'm going all off on about this, and
it's so interesting. I love it.
This was kind of like the roots of entrepreneurship for me, because even though I didn't know it at the time, and even though I didn't even appreciate it at the time, oh my God, now I'm the entrepreneur's, rallying cry. I'm like that manifesto about freedom and about what it takes to get ahead, because I wholeheartedly believe that entrepreneurship is a great way not only to achieve financial freedom, but personal freedom, to be able to kind of run your show the way that you decide to, and, live true to your ethics and values. One of the reasons that my dad, I believe at least, didn't do more in the space, in the entertainment space, acting, etc., is because he's a very principled man of integrity. He's a person of faith. They wanted him to play certain roles, and he was like, "I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to get." And he didn't want to curse. He didn't want to do, So all of that played into more his decision to go his own path and do the entrepreneurship thing. So, these days I tell people, because I do a lot of workshops and seminars, financial entrepreneurs and others. But I tell people, listen, if you're going to leave corporate America today, it's usually with a feather or a baseball bat. And so the feather is, oh, she's going off to greener pastures. She's going to stay at home with the kids. She's got a new gig. She's going to go back to school. She's going to start her own company. It's the nice send off.
Right.
It's rare, but maybe you've been there for a couple decades and it's like sort of the gold watch thing. But that's the feather. More likely, it's the baseball bat. It's like, bam, upside your head, which you didn't expect,
Right. You thought you were going to be there 20 years, and then they're like, yes or no.
Yeah, or at least the next year.
Right.
And I definitely got the baseball bat. So, but through it all, I've appreciated the lessons learned, and it's all made me stronger.
Mm-hmm. That was an amazing story. I'm so happy you shared that about your dad. I am inspired.
Oh, good.
That was amazing.
So let him know.
Yes, Mr. Michael Darrell. And I'm going to go watch E.T. So now you attended the University of California and got a bachelor's degree in English, right?
Correct.
Then a master's in journalism from USC.
That's right.
So now those were both writing or journalism, that kind of background. How did you make the transition from there, being a writer, to doing what you do now, working in finance?
Right. Well, obviously I work now as a money coach, and I teach people essentially about financial education and how to get out of debt, how to save, how to pay for college or, plan for retirement, all those money related issues. And my segue into my own company as a money coach and as a financial educator really came about as a result of my work in financial journalism. So as I mentioned, my Wall Street Journal job, I was with Dow Jones. I was a bureau chief. I was a deputy managing editor. I was an on-air correspondent. So I spent a long time writing and talking about personal finances. And I would just interview, over the years, I can't even tell you thousands of experts and people that I interviewed, certified financial planners, stockbrokers, traders, tax specialists, accountants. And I would always ask them what's working, like what's the best advice you're giving your clients, and where are your clients going astray? What are the money mistakes that they're making? And I would always love to hear the stories because it rang true to me, and because of my own personal drama and my situation and all my stuff that I was doing that was totally raggedy. I was like, ooh. So after a while, I was kind of like, well, this is not rocket science. I could pull this off too. I could teach people about this. But it was fun for me. Obviously I mentioned my dad, some of the roots there of entrepreneurship. Even when I went to junior high school, I worked in it was like a student store, that they had, on the campus on our just on our high school, on our junior high school. They call it middle school today.
Mm-hmm.
In our junior high school. And basically it wasn't the cafeteria, but it was like a little student store is what it was called. And there was a window, and there they would sell things like snacks and stuff at lunch, or that kind of thing. So I worked there, and then I would see like so many students were just coming and getting their sweets, or cupcakes, or a candy bar or some drinks. And I was like, ooh, everybody likes to have a little snack in between, and sugar, blah blah blah. So I was like, I could do this too. So when I was in junior high, I probably shouldn't have done this originally, but I didn't sell it from that store right there. But what I would do is I went to the store each day, and I would buy Now and Laters. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I do. No one else probably does. We showing our age.
And candy sticks.
Yes.
Remember the candy sticks you used to lick? It was apple, strawberry, cherry, all that little sugar. But I'm serious, I remember this so clearly. They were 10 cents, literally. A pack of 9 Laters was 10 cents. The candies, the sticks were 10 cents. I would literally buy $10 worth.
Ooh.
And I would come home any day that I took that to school. I would come home with $25. I bought all that stuff for 10 cents. I would sell it for 25 cents. And those kids were buying their candy left and right.
So you set up a business.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. So that was probably it was my first sort of entrepreneurial pursuit. And it was like, oh, you know what? See, today, Wall Street, we call it an arbitrage play. If you're able to, capitalize on the spread, again, I don't want to get too technical and geeky, but basically it's like, okay, what's your profit margin? Kind of, if you can get here in this one market quickly and sell it over here, you can pocket the difference. You can pocket the spread, or the differential. And for me, it was like, I can buy this 10-cent candy in my neighborhood and then go over here into the wealthier neighborhood and sell it for 25 cents.
I love it. And you know your market too. You're like, they'll pay 25 cents over there.
Totally, easily.
In your neighborhood, they would have been like, girl, I'm not paying 25 cents for that.
Yeah. Oh, they would have been like, I can go right down to the liquor store, practically, and buy for 10 cents. The little shop. I'm serious. You bringing back memories. Danny's. It was called Danny's, either Danny's Wine Cellar or Danny's Liquor Store. I can challenge anybody who's in LA. La Cienega and Rodeo, on the corner of La Cienega and Rodeo in central Los Angeles. Across the street was Fedco, where it's not there anymore. My mother used to work at Fedco, the department store that was there. Yeah. But I'm telling you, Danny's, that little store, they knew me up in there. I used to be playing Pac-Man and everything, girl.
They're like, what you doing with all this candy, girl?
I was selling. I was, planting the seeds, like I said, for entrepreneurship. I didn't know it then.
I know. I love it. So I wonder, when you went to school and then you got the position after, was it that, it was the thing you're supposed to do? Like, did you not think of, I'll become an entrepreneur after college? Or was the path kind of there and then, like you said, the job change and that kind of thing?
It was absolutely not on my mind at all. I did not remotely think about having my own business. I mean, I literally cannot remember at all when I was in grad school at USC or undergrad. I always saw myself working for someone else in that, while I was in college, I was definitely on that track that you go to school, you get a good education.
Right,
and then
you get a job.
And honestly, I certainly didn't see for myself what I'm doing now at so many levels. But when I look back on my path, thank God, I see his hand in so many things, steering me, directing me, leading me, blessing me, because I'll tell you, it's, the path has not been linear. It's not always been a straight line, just like here, A, B, C, D, on down to, Z or wherever. Mm-hmm. But it's been a great ride. It's so much fun. Honestly, I just love being an entrepreneur. And, when I was in my late 20s and then kind of, early 30s, I did, because I saw from the experts that I was talking to and the people who were really making money and who were really getting ahead and being financially successful, I definitely realized that the vast majority of them were entrepreneurs. And so I was like, okay, this is kind of would be nice to have my own business too. Or it was almost like a little someday type of thing in the back of my mind.
Right.
And ironically, when I lost my job at, through the Wall Street Journal and CNBC, I was like, oh, it's not right. It's not fair. I was complaining to one of my friends, Melanie Trotman. She's still at the Journal. She, lovely, sweet, supportive sister that she is. And, we're talking today too about support. She ever so gently said to me after she listened to me, harp on about it and everything. She said, well, Lynnette, didn't you tell me before that you were kind of wanting to be an entrepreneur and you wanted to start your own business anyway? Mm-hmm. And she just gently reminded me, like, this might be the opportunity.
Right. Like, look on the other side.
Right. And at first I was like, yeah, I said that, but I didn't do it this way.
Right. I don't want to hear that right now.
Yeah. I want to do it on my own timetable and the way I want to do it,
Isn't that how life works, though? It's kind of like, no, you're going to do this now.
Totally. But, she was one of the people who was very supportive and who was very concerned and caring at a personal level, at a friendship level, career level, et cetera. But also just that gentle but firm, too, kind of reminder that, one door closes and another opens. And it was a good lesson for me.
Mm-hmm. And how important is it, speaking of support is sexy, how important is it to have people like that in your life, or has it been in your journey, in your career, et cetera?
It's been phenomenally important in my life to have a support team. And by far and away, the number one support in my life is my husband. Mm-hmm. And people see what I do. They know I own this company, themoneycoach.net. Our financial education company, and I'm the face and kind of brand and name of the company. Mm-hmm. People, however, they don't realize the other half of the company. I co-own this business with my husband, who totally makes it happen. I mean, so what I do for me, for my skill set and my passions and the stuff that I'm best suited to execute on, is perfect for me. And it plays to my strengths. So I get to get out there and talk. I get to do interviews like this. I get to do workshops and seminars. I get to create a lot of content in different format, whether it's books or, ebooks or webinars, etc. And people see that. That's the consumer facing or the business facing side of it that my clients can see.
Right.
What they don't see and what's less visible is all the other work that has to be done, which I'm so enormously grateful for, because that's the stuff that my husband pulls off, from negotiating contracts to signing book deals. He's, my husband is a book agent, as you know, mm-hmm. to literally running our website, to doing the marketing and advertising, to operations, to invoicing and billing people, So all of the stuff that, frankly, I don't have the skill set, the capacity, or sometimes the time or even the interest to do. I'm very grateful that Earl is a wonderful support system to get it all done, mm-hmm. And it's one of my friends, Sophia, she used to be a journalist as well. And long story short, she said to me, after I divorced, I was previously married for 13 years, didn't work out. Obviously, I remarried, happily, successfully married now, uh-huh. Our 10-year anniversary next year. And my friend Sophia, she said, oh, wow, Lynnette, she said, do you think it's is it just a coincidence that your career really blew up after you met Earl? And I was like, heck no, it ain't a coincidence.
I love it.
I was like, this is strategic. I mean, I was like, I didn't marry him to make my career, blow up.
Right.
That was a beautiful side product and a benefit of it, though. But the strategy part has been us working together as a couple. We are truly,
partners.
A duo. When they say teamwork makes the dream work, that's what's going on in this household. Okay.
Right. I love it.
So it's a phenomenal way to live and love, and to combine my loves, because I love this man deeply. Everybody know I always gush about Earl.
Earl, I know.
He's Earl, and it's like, stay back. Okay. Oh no, stay back, women.
So how do
But
you guys separate the business and your love life of having the two? I know you work very intimately together, and how does that, or do you have to? Maybe it doesn't. People think you have to separate it. I don't know. How does it work?
oh wow, you're about to get real deep on me right here.
I
I
want
think
to
I'm about to get
know.
real deep too, and I'm gonna think if I really want to say something, if I really want to disclose something here. You know what? I'm gonna disclose it.
Tell
I'm just
us.
gonna say it. We trying to give some support to
That's
people who
right.
are
People need
listening.
to know because a lot of people might
Real
want to
deep.
work with their partner, but you're worried about it or you don't know how it's going to work. So,
Oh no, believe, trust and believe it. Like I totally get it. Listen, I met Earl in 2003, 13 years ago, right? We got married in 2007. Like I said, next year will be our 10-year anniversary. And I'm gonna be with this man till the day I die. Ain't no joke about that, okay? Um, because we first worked together, he became my book agent. He was a consultant. He helped me to uh, really promote well, he didn't help me to promote it. He's the one who told me to write it. My New York Times bestseller, Zero Debt, The Ultimate Guide to Financial Freedom. He was the one who said, you need to write a book about debt and getting out of debt. He said, if you write that book, that'll be a New York Times bestseller. And he was right. I, banged it out in 60 days and just, it became,
wow.
yeah. But long story short, because we've worked together so closely, and I mean intimately, as in literally every day, side by side, we share a home office together. We sit side by side. Our desks are really next to each other. We've had to encounter the highs and the lows of entrepreneurship as a couple. From my vantage point, you can ask him about his perspective. It's like 85% great and 15% extremely challenging. And the extremely challenging part is mainly the philosophical differences and the approach to business. No different than what you would have with if it was two sisters working together, friends working together, a pair of guys who just from college buddies decided to do a business.
Right.
We're all human beings. None of us, we're not our mirrors or our clones of one another. So as human beings, this is what I tell people all the time. In any relationship, have you ever not had a difficult situation to endure, whether it's siblings, with your parents, a best friend, your honey, whatever. So that's just life. I mean, so now you add to that the layer of complexity that comes with running a business. And yes, it can be challenging. For us, I love working together with my husband. It gives us so much more deeper levels of communication and intimacy and trust and just a feeling of accomplishment. Now, let me address a little more specifically what you said about how y'all can make it work. Because some people be like, "Ooh, I don't know if I could work with my spouse."
Right.
If I had $1 for every time over the last 10 years, somebody has said, "How do you do it?" And by the way, Earl and I are working on a book project about couples and entrepreneurship.
Oh, can't wait for it.
Yes, we know there's a true need for this in the marketplace. I'm not at liberty to divulge the title right now, but
Right.
suffice to say, it's all about couples and how you can make it work and work together successfully
Right.
without driving each other crazy or killing each other. Okay.
Right. Right.
I wrote this article literally about that very topic, how to work with your spouse without driving each other crazy or killing each other. This thing was I put it on LinkedIn. You can't know how many people, professional people were like, "Oh my God, I want to work with my spouse." But yes, I think I would like jump off the roof.
Yeah, some people would be
So,
afraid just thinking of what might happen or hearing the horror stories or knowing that when it's good, it's good. Like the business is doing great,
sure.
but then there are those down times.
Absolutely. And here's what it really boils down to, especially when you go into it. Like we went into it as business partners first. I mean, we didn't go into marriage as business partners. We went in, we connected and started working together and just knew each other in a business sense. He ran my business for me. So he ran my business. Then we got married and then he, had issues of not issues, but there was a sense that, okay, I'm the man of the household and I'm running the household.
Right.
And my philosophy is equal to his, is the same. I'm a Christian. I have no qualms with saying, as a woman, I believe the woman should submit to her husband. But that doesn't stop the fact, and he totally gets this, that I'm a boss in my own right. I'm the CEO and co-founder of my company. I have my thoughts and opinions, and he respects those. And so the beauty is that we can't, it's not like he's gonna be like, oh, hey, it's my way or the highway, or what I say goes, kind of thing. But there are power issues and dynamics in a relationship. And this is the part that I was really saying, to be honest with you, I'm just blabbing on here. This is the part that I was like, oh, I don't really know if I want to reveal this.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say it. I'm serious. I've obviously never said this publicly. I was probably going to put it in the book, but I don't been thinking about it. But I think it can really help. I think it can preview. Yeah, I think it can help your audience. Elayne, I wore it as a badge of honor that my husband and I had such intertwined lives that we really did not separate business and personal. For the vast majority of our time together, up until this year, 2016, we always told people we mix business and pleasure, and we love it that way, and it works for us. And that's true. We're always mixing business and pleasure, and it works for us. However, there's a risk to that. There's a downside to that. And there is a level of unhealthiness in relationships that can develop as a result of that. And the reason that I've come to know and learn and understand this, and this is the part that I said I wasn't going to divulge, but we have to get past so many issues and so many stigmas. And I'm a person who's always saying, can we talk about money issues? And money talk is stigmatized in certain circles, as is therapy. So I have been going to therapy recently. I think I told you I had a sister who died about a year ago. In 2015, I was just devastated at so many levels. Mm-hmm. She passed away at age 49, had just completely suddenly, totally out of the blue, had an 11-year-old daughter. I can't even, I don't want to go too much into that, but for months I couldn't function. This was, just 2015. Right. The beginning of 2015. She died on December 30th, 2014. So for about 3 months, I was like, there were days I just couldn't get out the bed. I was crying every day. I was sad. And through it all, of course, my husband ran our company. He hired freelancers. He just picked up what I couldn't do. He did, just everything. And, and I was like, oh my God, this is not right. This is not fair. Why, God, and then after, many months, I was like, I'm not getting any better. And it doesn't go away, of course. It's with you. But I did go to my church and I got grief counseling, and it really started to help me. And that process made me think more about just in general, like getting help and getting just therapy just in your life. Mm-hmm. So long story short, again, I know I'm telling long stories here.
No, that's good.
But I went to a therapist recently, and in 2016, and she has helped me to really unpack so much that has helped me in my personal life, in my marriage with Earl, in my business life, my relationship with my kids. And it's just, one-on-one, her and I, but the beauty, the one of the very best things that she helped me to discover is you have to take that business hat off. And she was like, you know what? Your husband needs you to be a wife, not his business partner right now. Your husband needs to know that you have an appreciation of him just for who he is as a man. And separate from his identity as a great provider and as the president of your company and as a six-figure, earner and all this other stuff. All of that is great in what he does, and he has tremendous capacity. But, speak to his heart more about the fact that he taught all three of your kids how to ride a bike, or that he, taught Alexis how to swim in our pool in the backyard, or just whatever. And just that, she made me see how much I always look at everything with my business hat on. Right. And again, it's rooted in childhood to a certain extent. It's rooted in just me having a fix-it personality and trying to help people all the time. And like, okay, here's the solution. Here's how you do it. And me being a journalist by background and trade means that I always want facts. I always want the research, and I always want proof, as she put it. And those can be great things. But at the end of the day, when you have to sit down and talk to your husband and make family decisions, like we had a major family decision to make in this year, and it had financial implications. And so I did my normal thing. I put on my business hat. I was like, okay, here's why this investment makes sense. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take some money from this account. We're going to do this, this, and this. And he was like, oh, okay. And he clearly wasn't feeling it. Right. And so I talked to her about this, and she was like, okay, you realize you went to business mode, right? She was like, you could show me. I get it. It makes sense. It's an investment. It's going to pay off, blah, blah, blah. She was like, ain't nobody got time for that. Right. She was like, that doesn't matter. She was like, how does your husband feel emotionally? Is the risk worth it to him? Is it going to make him feel emotionally uncomfortable or vulnerable? And it was just, I was like, she's right. I put on my business hat again. I was like, clearly this is going to pay off. Here we go.
I am the money coach. I got this.
I was like, let's do this. And it's not an unsubstantial sum that we're talking about in terms of making an investment. So it's basically about making a certain real estate investment. So anyway, it was just, I cannot tell you how the lesson for me as an entrepreneur, and it's definitely gonna help me in my book, was that I owned that. I loved it. I loved being able to declare that so much of the business and personal is intertwined, and you can't even untangle it. But now 10 years into this, I'm thinking actually you can. Here's a case in point. In this is June. In March, and maybe it was early April, I can't remember, whenever spring break was, we went on vacation, and we took a Caribbean cruise, and we were gone for 10 days, and 8 days we were on the cruise. And before I left, my therapist said, do not work while you're on this cruise. She was like, I would love for you not even to take your laptop. She said, but at the very least, I want you to really unplug and be engaged. I want you to be able to remember every meal you had with your spouse. I want you to know the time you spent in the pool with Alexis, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I can do that. And I told her the truth, which was that when Earl and I got married in 2007, we got married on what we considered a lucky date, 777.
Nice.
July 7, 2007. Well, that was just the day that they price gouged all of us brides. Right?
That was a big day.
Go up. But long story short, back then we both loved to cruise. We went on a cruise, he and I together, alone, of course. And it was a 10-day cruise on Princess. And don't you know, we both took our laptops on our cruise, on our honeymoon.
So you were working.
We didn't. We definitely checked in every day, and we kind of kept things looking at things. But people were like, "Really, y'all gonna take your laptops on the cruise, on your honeymoon?" And we were like, "Yeah, we entrepreneurs. We got this. That's all right. Y'all do what you do, but we know this is part of our life. We can work anywhere in the world we want, and blah blah blah." Right. Well, so she told me, okay, she said, I'm gonna limit you. I want you to try to follow some guidelines. And so she was like, you set I can't make you. But she said, I understand you guys are running your business, and you need to check in a little bit. She said, but very limited, make it a limited amount of time. And I cannot tell you, Elayne, I always work on vacation every single time. I never take a vacation that I'm not working. And I have remorse from a lot of that. So many times I can tell you, Earl's like, okay, I'm gonna take Alexis down to the pool, or we're gonna go out and do this, and I'm like, I'm banging out an article or something I'm writing or whatever, and I'm like, I'm missing out on life, and I'm like, no, this is not right. So I took her advice. We went on this cruise, as I mentioned. I checked in twice on my laptop, about 15 minutes each time, literally 30 minutes the entire time. It felt so great. I was
because you were present.
And he did the same thing. He checked in like two, maybe 3 times minimum. He was like, "Oh my God, this is so good." And it was like our business nothing went to hell in a handbasket.
I was going to say that you saw that it continued to, you have it set up in a way that it will continue.
Totally. So, I'm sharing all of that very personal stuff, basically to say that there are challenges to, obviously working with your spouse, whether it's the financial stresses, whether it's the decision making and power and control issues, whether it's the need to, in fact, separate some areas of business and personal and make sure that at the end of the day, the relationship doesn't suffer. The business might fail, And honestly, my business is doing great. I don't expect it to fail. But if the business fails, the marriage will not.
Right.
And that, at the end of the day, is what most couples deep down, that's the fear. Like, okay, if this goes belly up, what does that mean for our marriage? Does that mean that we're kaputs too?
Right.
And Earl and I know that we are solid and strong. And if we make, 2 million together, 200,000 or 20,000 together, whatever. I mean, definitely, I want to make the bigger numbers.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but I will be happy and content with my husband as long as he and I are solid. Deals can come and go. You know what? Our corporate clients, they're wonderful, and they bolster our business in so many ways. Our individual clients, the retail clients that we serve, exactly, they support us in so many ways. But at the end of the day, we are each other's strongest support system. We have said to one another, we got to have our relationship with God right. We need to have, obviously, the Father, our spiritual father in our lives as a source of support. But no matter what happens in this world, it's like, I got you,
Right.
Before I married my husband, we were dating, and I actually had Alexis, our daughter, 1 year before we got married. And I was reluctant to remarry. I wasn't reluctant, but I was, after having, gone through a separation and divorce, I was like, this got to be right. I love you, boo, and we got a baby, but I have to know this is for life, and I ain't going down that path again. My divorce was very costly financially, emotionally, etc. And so, long story short, Earl told me something that I'll never forget. He said, and this is when, I had my own place at a different, place before I moved here into his house. And, obviously before we got married, he said, Lynnette, if you fall, I will catch you. And I was like, you know what? He's right. I don't have to be the female Hercules. I don't have to be Superwoman anymore.
I was going to say, yeah.
I feel like I'm holding up the world. The weight of the world is on my shoulders. Because in my previous relationship, I was doing that. I was the main breadwinner. And frankly, for 11 out of the 13 years that I was married, I was the only breadwinner. My ex was in school. He was getting his PhD. And so I had to kind of do it all. And it ain't like that with Earl, because my man, he running it, okay?
Right.
And he's a workaholic like I am. So, So I don't know. I hope some of that helps your audience. And,
I'm sure that was so helpful. And also, I think, there's so many things you mentioned that were great, but also the idea of getting help when you need to, outside help. Sometimes you need someone from the outside who can look in, that you trust, of course, not just,
Right.
anybody, but that you trust, and who can give you suggestions on, hey, look at it this way. Look, what about this perspective? Or think about the person's feelings from this perspective. Sometimes we don't do that and just try to barrel through and figure it out ourselves. And as you said, the relationship can suffer, then the business can suffer. But that's so great of you to think to even do that.
Yeah. And in my work with financial coaching clients, and even in just workshops I'll do group, I'm always telling people, do not suffer in silence.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. As one of your quotes, you said a lot of us do that.
I mean, at so many levels, we just we're like, Americans are very strong in terms of work ethic as a whole. And we have this sort of rugged, industrialist, do-it-yourselfer kind of notion. And that even comes to play when it comes to problems, right? So we think, all right, this is my problem, I got to fix it. Or I got myself into this bed, I got to get myself out of it. And well, just because you're in a problem don't mean that you have to be the sole, source of the solution. You can and should get help, you know. I continue to teach my children that, so that they understand, especially as they enter and prepare for college. So much of your collegiate success is about tapping a network, going to your professor, being in there talking to office hours, getting tutoring, forming study groups with your peers, staying up with your roommates studying, not just partying,
Right.
So the support system is a vital part of anybody's success. And it starts, the sooner we can teach our children about that, elementary, middle school, high school kids, of course, students in college. And then as we become young professionals and adults and enter the workforce, I would hope that philosophy and that kind of idea would translate into other areas of your life. Get some financial help if you need to get financial help and some support. Get some spiritual guidance if you need to get more emotionally and spiritually centered. Get some coaching help or information for your business if you need more guidance on launching a startup, funding it, continuing to power it, or to grow it. I'm super, super happy that 13 plus years later, my business is still going very strong. 2014, we had our best year ever. 2015 was down a little bit, and well, more than a little bit, 20 something percent, honestly, because of, I told you, just the lack of work and what I couldn't do because I was, dealing with the aftermath and dealing with the aftermath of my sister's death, etc. But 2016, oh my God, has gone gangbusters. And, one or two other big projects in the works that I'm the eternal optimist, and I'm always like glass half full, or the glass is 80% full as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
And Earl is glass half empty. He's like, okay, well, I believe it when I see it. When I see the contract signed on the dotted line, I'm like, I got this. Yes. All right. Yeah. Ooh, we got it.
Right.
We got it. Oh yeah. And girl, can I just tell you that yesterday, was one of those, we got it.
Oh,
we got
nice. I'm dancing with you. I don't even know what it is.
Not one, but two really super great things happen. Awesome. And it's going, I told Earl, I was like, okay, well, one of them is more or less a done deal. The other one is more rollout type of thing.
Right.
But I said, ooh, I am going to be praying over this. But it's a true game changer. So I was like, oh, and it's something that's evolved over time. And one of the beautiful things was that we sat outside, we were in the back. Alexis was like, oh, I want to get in the pool. And Earl had opened the pool just to be able to, I'm like, it's still too cold for me here in the Northeast. I ain't getting in that pool.
Right.
But anyway. But so we were just watching her and we were just talking, and we were talking about this, deal, which somebody came to us and said, can we do this together? And we were like, let's hear the proposal. And we were like, yes. And so I told Earl, isn't the beauty of this same entity, this same company, a big publicly traded company, we've worked with in the past for years. We did good business with, and at a certain point, we stepped back a little bit, and I was not willing to do more, and that was a woo. If you get my husband on this on this interview, he did not even understand why I would turn something down like that. He was like, and he has a extremely blue collar work ethic as well. Like, you put in your time, you pay your dues, you get your hustle on, you don't turn down. And I'm like, look, let me tell you what I'm worth. Right. So just cut to the chase. The beauty is, even though that, like anybody, that withdrawal on my part caused friction in our marriage, business friction, thus became personal friction. I was able to say, I told you, and you told me.
Right.
Because Earl planted the seed in these people's mind when I, said no to what I wanted to say no to. He said, let's keep the relationship. And so we did. And he said, this is what I envisioned for Lynnette. And he gave them an idea. He told them, don't you know, they came to us with that idea saying, would you do this?
Right. Would you do that idea that you brought to us before? But isn't that good? You gave it some space, and then it came back around in the way that it was supposed to.
It leveraged both of our strengths, and so it's a beautiful thing. So, I don't know. I'm in my high mode right now.
I love it. I caught you on a good day. That's amazing. I love it. Now, one of the things I did want to say, I want to be conscious of your time. So just a couple more questions. Your book, Zero Debt, which you mentioned is a New York Times bestseller. Now, when you wrote that, it wasn't just, you pontificating about money advice and what people should do. You had your own experience and challenges with money, being in debt and that kind of thing. Can you tell us a little bit just about that experience and then writing your book about it and telling people how to get out of debt?
Sure. Well, back in 2001, I had $100,000 in credit card debt alone. And I know it sounds crazy and awful, and it was crazy and awful. But fortunately, I was able to pay it all off in 3 years. I never missed a single payment. And then I wrote this book about it in 2004 called Zero Debt, The Ultimate Guide to Financial Freedom. And as I mentioned, it became, New York Times bestseller, Business Week bestseller, Essence magazine bestseller. And I really shared with people the strategies and steps that I took to get out of debt. But I wrote the book as a 30-day action plan to help people to jumpstart their finances. And obviously, I don't promise in the book you're going to be out of debt in 30 days.
Right.
But what I do is handhold people. I walk them through step by step, day by day, what they should do over the course of 30 days to make power moves to eliminate debt and become debt-free faster than they ever thought possible. And what I learned partially from digging out of my own consumer debt is that at first it's very overwhelming. You're like, where do I start? What should I do? And, most people, well, 99.9% of people, they're not anywhere near as bad as I was. They don't have, $100,000 in debt, although debt is definitely creeping up again.
Right.
We have over 700 billion in credit card debt in America right now. And Card Hub just released a study in which they predicted that credit card debt is going to top $1 trillion by the end of 2016. That would be a record for us as Americans, even more than we had during the Great Recession. Okay. So we know that people's debt at so many levels continues to rise, whether it's student loan debt, which is over 1.3 trillion, auto loans, which are over, 1.1 trillion. A lot of people have mortgages, almost 9 trillion in mortgage debt is outstanding. So debt continues to be a major problem in America. And I just shared my story in a practical way that was frankly, just, a point for me to tell people, I understand. I've been there, done that. I ain't going to judge you because Lord knows I made so many mistakes. And people identified. I mean, and, we got on Dr. Phil with it and, just all the national TV shows and whatnot. And the book did really, really well. And I'm so grateful. Earl and I, we own a publishing company together. We own the rights to Zero Debt. We did the second edition of that. We're going to do the third edition. I mean, again, because the credit card debt problem in America has only gotten worse, unfortunately.
And did you use a coach when you were going through your process of getting out of debt, or it's something you figured out on your own and now that's one of the reasons you want to be, or you are, a fantastic money coach?
I did not use a coach when I got out of my credit card debt, but mainly because I had the benefit of all those experts that I told you that I had interviewed through my job with Dow Jones and Wall Street Journal and CNBC. I was already deeply entrenched in the financial services community, and a lot of the financial planning experts, money managers, etc., gave me some core advice to follow. The main thing is that sometimes when people are trying to dig themselves out of a debt problem or maybe overcome credit issues, they can accidentally do things that hurt themselves and kind of shoot themselves in the foot. And so I do think it's important to talk to people about mistakes that you've made and things that didn't go right or didn't go well, for example, and to help the next person to avoid that pitfall or that particular setback. And I talk about some of that in Zero Debt as well.
And now, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you have found that entrepreneurs make? With money mistakes, I should say.
Sure. Well, there's definitely the case that entrepreneurs have a lot of debt, and entrepreneurs who are African American in particular have higher levels of debt. I saw this survey that kind of blew me away, and it basically said that 99% of African American entrepreneurs who have put expenses and things that they had to pay for on their credit cards in order to fund their business still have that same credit card debt 3 years later. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. And, we know how it is as an entrepreneur. Some people are going to use their savings. If they have cash, that's fine. Some people are going to tap friends and family. Others might leverage the equity they have in their homes. But a lot of entrepreneurs are using credit. So they might use personal credit cards or business credit cards, that kind of thing. Perhaps a business line of credit if they're able to establish one later in life. Some might go get some VC money, angel investors, etc. One of the biggest problems, though, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs is debt, and also having just in a high degree of financial instability overall. So if you have a poor credit rating, that can prevent you from getting a business loan, or at least getting a business loan on favorable terms. If you don't have the support system that we've been talking about, if you don't have like a lot of skin in the game personally, and I just mean, obviously you're going to invest your time and effort, your passion, but a lot of people want to know, well, how much money have you put up, and what have you done to invest in this? Because why should I put my hard-earned money at risk if you have it? So sometimes having the right network, whether it's the right financial resources that you can tap, whether it's the right people in your lives, we need to all broaden our networks and to look with a critical eye at deficiencies and where there are gaps. Like if for example, okay, I'm a business owner, but I really should be doing a lot more in social media. You should just really look to say, I'm going to invest either time, energy, maybe I'll barter, maybe I'll have to pay somebody to, really get my Facebook following up, or to have X number of likes, or if that's what you're seeking, or my, number of Twitter followers or whatever. But you need to pay attention to those things. In some areas, entrepreneurs who have contractors or freelancers might be better suited to keep running their business successfully than do some entrepreneurs who are having full-time employees. Now, I'm not saying that either one is right or preferable for all entrepreneurs. Obviously, it's totally case-by-case basis based on industry and your level of skill and support in other areas. But in general, having people to support you, actual other people to do the work, is a huge factor in a lot of entrepreneurs' success. And I think part of what holds many folks back is that there's capacity issues. Mm-hmm. It's just you trying to do it, you and your partner perhaps, and you need some help. Either you need to hire somebody, and it could be the bookkeeper or the accountant to just take care of your books, and you don't have to worry about that. It could be the marketing person or the publicist that you need, or to get you some media interviews to help publicize your business. It might be that you need an operations manager. Whatever the need is, don't try to wear too many hats, because nobody, even the smartest person in business, can be the very best at marketing, sales, operation, distribution, hiring employees, the technical side, running a website, and doing whatever it is the heart of your business is, whether it's fashion, or whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whether it's, something related to community activism. It could be anything. So we all need help in a support system. And I think that some businesses fail for lack of proper support.
Right. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful, fantastic advice. I got to get to know you a little personally, which was fun. Just good.
After all these years and all this stuff, right?
I know, all the business. I do want to ask one more question that I ask everyone with wrapping up. If you could think over your life and your career, and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would it be, and what would you say? Oh, I'm sending you a hug.
Thank you. It would definitely be my sister, Debbie. Mm. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You need a minute. It's okay.
I shared with Earl that my sister was so instrumental in my career, in my life, in my success in so many ways. And obviously, she knew I loved her. I told her all the time. Mm-hmm. I know she loved me. My sister was so super proud of me, and she was my biggest champion in so many ways. But I do wish that I could tell her even more, thank you for all that you did for me. I've looked back on the most critical areas of transition and key decisions that I made business and career-wise, and Deborah Darrell was the one who guided me in all of them. When I was an undergrad at UC Irvine, I was so happy to be getting out of school. Um, I had done a 5th year of college to earn my degree, and I was like, whew, I'm done. I just want to work.
Mm-hmm.
And Debbie came to me and said, well, you have to go to graduate school, right? You need to get a master's degree. And I said, are you kidding me? I said, I am so done with school. I'm about to work. And she said, Lynnette, a bachelor's degree is a dime a dozen nowadays. You need to go to graduate school. I fought her. I just didn't listen, right? And then in my early part of my senior year of college, you know, it was almost like I panicked. And I said, oh my God, she's right. And she told me this. And then my oldest sister, Earl, of course, echoed her sentiment. And she also encouraged me to go to graduate school. Debbie had earned an MBA from George Washington University. She got her bachelor's degree from Howard University. My sister Earl had earned a master's degree in public health. And so they both said, yeah, you need to go to grad school. I put together my last minute applications, more or less, and I applied to 2 schools, to Boston University and to USC. Boston gave me a full ride. Like a big dummy, I turned it down, and I ended up going to USC, and which was a phenomenal school, great. I loved it. I had an outstanding experience. I don't regret it. The only thing I do regret is that it was expensive. It was a private school, of course, and I came out of school with $40,000 in student loan debt. That's my only regret, the student loan debt. But while I was at USC, it opened my mind to the possibilities in journalism and communications. I benefited from what they call their tripartite curriculum, and I did TV journalism, print journalism, and public relations. And learning some of all of that has been critical to my success. I started my career on the print side in newspaper work and online journalism with the Associated Press, Philadelphia Inquirer, then Dow Jones and the Wall Street Journal. It was my sister Debbie who said, you need to be on TV, Lynnette. I said, are you crazy? I said, those TV people, that's just, all they're doing is sitting up there reading a teleprompter. They're not really even all that smart. And dumb me was saying they're not that smart. Okay. You don't even know half the work that goes into TV. Okay. But I fought that. I resisted. And, finally I made the leap. I went to TV. I said, oh my God, why didn't I do this sooner? When I did my very first book, Investing Success, How to Conquer 30 Costly Mistakes and Multiply Your Wealth, my sister Debbie told me, I'm going to quit my job. I said, Debbie, you ain't going to quit your job. She was making over $200,000 a year. Okay. She said, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start my own company. She said, and you're going to be my first client. I was like, I said, girl, you ain't quitting that job. Don't you know my sister quit her job for me? She went on the road with me all around the country promoting investing success. She showed me a model of entrepreneurship, just like my father did. She supported me in the transition when I was laid off to go from working at CNBC to being a published author and owning my own publishing company.
Right.
So if there was anybody that I could thank who has been so vitally important to my career success, it would be my sister, Deborah Darrell.
Oh, Lynnette, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing with us. Thank God for Debbie, that she pushed you to do all of those things, and look how it has manifested in your life now with all of the things that you're doing. So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We talked so much about your story, which was wonderful, which is a part of your business, but it's really good to get to see that other side of people that we see on TV all the time and books and all of that. So thank you. I love you. Sending you a big hug.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Love you too.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Lynnette. Truly a special one. Had a lot of fun doing that one and really as I said during the interview, getting to know her in a personal way. So what I need you to do now is do at least one thing from that interview in your business, in your personal life, in your career, one thing that's going to move you a step closer to your dream, that thing that you really want to accomplish. Like I say, you can always do more than one, but at least one thing. And as promised, Lynnette has given us a great offer for one of her courses on winning college scholarships. Now, this is good for obviously if you're a student who's looking for scholarships, or if you're a parent who has a student who is or soon will be looking for scholarships. Lynnette has a course on how to get free money for college and avoid student loans. And you can go to my website, elaynefluker.com/podcast, and go to Lynnette's episode, and you'll see the place there where you can sign up for the Winning College Scholarships course. And for that course, Support is Sexy listeners will get 50% off. So the course is usually $30. You'll get 50% off. Use the code Support is Sexy. Don't worry, you don't have to remember all of this. Go to the website. You'll see the information there. But I just wanted to tell you about it so that you can hear it. And as always, I really appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you so much. Please give us a review on iTunes so I know what you think about the show, how it's doing, what you're thinking, what else you want to see. Go to elaynefluker.com for any other information. I love having you here. I really appreciate you. And until next time, go out there and create something sexy. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.